Welcome back to another episode of Fast Casual Nation. This, of course, is the podcast that talks about all things fast casual and kind of breaking down the winners, the losers, and the innovators in the fast casual sector. My name is Paul Barron. I'm your host today, and I really want to kind of dive into, for this particular session and episode, what's happening in the fast casual sector when you look at some of the stock winners. Now, Chipotle has been pretty much the wonder child of the fast casual category for quite some time. Obviously, they had some problems in 2016-17 when they were having the issues with the E. coli scare. Those were a little bit, probably the only time in the Chipotle history where we saw this brand kind of falter just a little bit. And of course, that has definitely changed. I'm going to put a video here in our links below that you can review, but it was basically an episode I did about Chipotle in 2018, I think it was May, and really what we were doing was trying to analyze, or 2019, we were analyzing the sentiment for Chipotle and how it was relevant to their particular stock price, but primarily what we were looking at was their digital sales. And of course now, with what's been happening with Chipotle, digital sales has completely jumped off the chart. I want to go into a few things that kind of have moved this stock price, but also I think have put Chipotle in a very unique position to become something very different and possibly the number one stock in the restaurant industry in the coming years. Chipotle rose their stock price to a little over almost 0.07 to 13.43 in this stock, and basically in the market. Shares were heading toward 13.66. They did do a double bottom base. You can learn a lot from what they are talking about in their press releases that really kind of dives into where they think their market is going, and it does talk a little bit about their digital sales numbers and why those matter in a minute. I'll get into that. Also, Piper Sandler, an analyst, raised the target price to $17.45, which is impressive considering the stock price is in the mid-13s right now. So Piper Sandler does believe that this company has a great infrastructure, and they do look at their digital sales as being the number one driver for them going to the next level. Obviously, when you look at brands like this, there are a handful of things that you should look at in terms of metrics. The one that I always watch is unit count. Unit count, and I'll break this down in some models at the end of the episode today that will show you why I think Chipotle could hit a $5,000 stock price. Now, granted, there are many things that could happen. This, of course, is not stock advice, but it is an analysis of where this company could be going in the near future. So Piper Sandler, of course, big jump on that. I want to kind of go to a graphic right here that shows our data on consumer sentiment as it aligns with the stock price. Now, obviously, this goes all the way back to Q1 2018, which is when we started seeing the move. They were recovering from 2017 and the issues, kind of the backlashes of the E. coli issue and also some management problems that they were dealing with. And of course, that was showing in their brand ambassadors. They were really losing a lot of basically their great customers. And this is kind of where it has started. In 2018, it started climbing. We started seeing by Q3, big jump to 82.6 in the sentiment. And you can kind of start to see that was when the stock started to move. So what you see here on screen is that red, of course, that red line is the stock price by quarter as it's jumping out. Quarter four, they had a little bit of a flatline dip. It went from 82.6 to 88.9. Right in Q1 of 2019, this is when the stock really started making the move, along with sentiment as it continues to stabilize and moves on. Obviously, you see the COVID dip, but for the most part, this is definitely on track to an unbelievable sentiment score. 96.9, that's about as good as you can get. Now, will they edge up a little? Sure, they could edge up a little, but I think what we'll start to see is some ebb and flows of sentiment. But the point is that sentiment, this is consumer sentiment, it has helped with taking this stock price, I believe, to this next level, which is unbelievable performance when you look at where Chipotle is today. All right, so moving on, results on digital sales for Chipotle over 2019 and 2020. Revenue increase, this was just recent from the Q3 report. Revenue increased 14.1% to 1.6 billion. Comparable restaurant sales increased 8.3, but here's the big number. Digital sales grew 202%. And that accounted for, here's another big number, 48% of their sales. So Chipotle has reached a reality. The reality is that they know and understand now where the market is going. I think they've started to play their hand, and they're starting to move into digital products such as ghost kitchens, and potentially something I think that's going to move them to the next level, and that is going to be robo kitchens that will essentially become very lightly manned, if at all. And that is where I think we'll see the explosion in unit count and definitely moving this stock. So we're going to break down a couple of things in terms of my forecast for 2021 to kind of talk to these. There's a couple of slides here. I'm going to go to my Model 1 slide, and this is the current 2019 numbers 2019 total sales, 5.6 billion. In Q3 of 2020, they had 2,710 units, estimating around 6.2 billion in sales. You can kind of see the stock price, which is my estimated stock price by the end of the year at 1381. They have already stated that they're going to move and potentially grow to an additional 200 units. That's going to push them to 6.6 billion in sales in 2021. That's where I think we'll see, this is a conservative number at the 1476 number in terms of the stock price for 2021. And then if you look at 2022 here, this is where it gets really interesting, because in 2022, they potentially could double their new unit count, another 400 units. That would push them to 6.9 billion. Look at 2023. I'm thinking they're going to 800 units in growth, and I do believe that this is going to be mostly virtual and robotic applications, not as many normal retail footprints, which means they're going to grow faster. They will have a little bit of a subtle drop in terms of average unit volume, which they are moving from 2.3 million per store currently, dropping down to by 2023, just because of the kind of stores we're going to be dealing with, to around 1.9 million. That's going to get them to 7.8 billion in sales, and their stock price is going to hover around 2,000. Moving that on out to 2025, we could see this explode with robotics by that time, and I think by then we could see 1,500 new units, and at that point you're talking about 6,800 units in Chipotle's coffers. That's a $14.3 billion brand, and at the current valuation, without them offering any more stock, they're going to move to about $3,600 a share, and that's in Model 1. So let's go to the next slide, and this is my Model 2. Now, Model 2 basically looks at the same exact scenario, but I'm accelerating their growth, and they're going to make it to 9,200 stores in 5 years. And I say stores. They're going to make it to 9,200 entities, because these are going to be dark kitchens, ghost kitchens, virtual brands, these robotic drop-ins where we'll see, Chipotle's potentially on almost every corner. This, I think, is going to be a potential. Now, it is a bit of a reach for this to happen, but if there is a brand that could do it, Chipotle is the brand that can make it happen. They've understood where digital sales are going, and I think this is going to be the future if they hit these numbers. Now, I want to kind of break this down. The numbers that they've got here, which is on Model 2, let me just kind of break this down. 6.2 billion in sales by Q3 this year. But if we look at the growth up to 2,200 new stores in 2025, 2,200 new units, that's a $21 billion brand at their current valuation, which is earning it at about 6.2, 6.5 times sales. That's going to stick them to about 146 billion in market cap, which will make their stock price somewhere in the range of 5K. This is huge because the obvious is that we'll probably see a stock split. That could potentially happen. The interesting thing is whether or not Chipotle pulls the trigger on really going all in on digital. I think they are going to, based on what they've seen in their numbers in 2020. COVID was a great time for Chipotle. It taught them how to deal with digital sales. And I think now that they've got a taste of this, this is definitely going to be something that can really accelerate their numbers. This is where I think the market is going in terms of Chipotle. And as you guys start to watch it, I would love your feedback. Of course, drop the comments in there. I'll do what I can to address as many as I can for you and answer questions. Of course, make sure, and just as an point, if you haven't read The Chipotle Effect, which is my book on this particular brand and why America has fallen in love with it, I published this book about 6, 7, 8 years ago, and it really breaks down a little bit of the science behind what's happening in the fast casual sector. You can check it out on Amazon. And then lastly, I want to kind of drop in a few slides here on a new event that we have coming that's basically going to be talking about all these kinds of things. And it's called Fast Casual Global. It's a virtual event that we'll be hosting. Part of what we've done with Fast Casual Global, if you check us on LinkedIn or just go to fastcasualglobal.com, you'll see that we have exploded in terms of the number of brands. So join over 800 brands and thousands of members as the largest fast casual organization in the world. So you just go to fastcasualglobal.com. You can jump in. It's free, or you can jump in and become a premium member. But you can also, which is the biggest part, take part in our global virtual event, which is appearing in February. We'll have those dates and a lot more detail on that here on this very show on Fast Casual Nation. All right, so all of you, hopefully you've had a chance to really understand what's happening with Chipotle. The bigger thing here, if you're a fast casual restaurant operator, digital sales, if you have not already really looked at complete retrofits opportunities for your brands, this is the time. I think the next 2 to 3 years, we are going to see a massive move into the digital space. And I think this last 8 to 12 months has really kind of set the industry up for some very unique things. And I think we're going to see some very interesting performance from Chipotle. So I definitely have them on a buy, and I'm looking at this brand very closely as their continued unit count continues to grow, but also their average unit volume in terms of sales. All right. We're going to catch you next time right here on Fast Casual Nation. If you want to reach out to me, hit me up on Twitter, just @PaulBaron. And if you have a story, idea, or someone you think should be on this show, shoot us an email to producer@foodabletv.com. We'll catch you next time right here on Fast Casual Nation.